everybody. This is Dr. Alex Avila with Love University, and we're back. I'm a psychologist, author, and speaker. Every week we talk about how to love ourselves, others, and higher nature, how to improve our relationships, our finances, career, spirituality, and of course, our love. And we have a very interesting show for you today, interesting topic and guest. And it has to do with what's going on in the world today. We're in this virus situation where people are feeling lonely, isolated, even depressed and anxious. And some people are turning to the use of cannabis or marijuana to help them in terms of their mood and help them psychologically. In the U.S., 43 million people indicate they've used marijuana or cannabis in the last year, and is legally available recreationally in 11 states and also medically in 33 states. Since March of this year, 2020, due to COVID, there's been an increase in the use of cannabis and marijuana. 46% increase in Colorado, 100% in Washington State, and 159% in California. And also the ingredients are getting stronger. The THC active ingredient was approximately 1% in the 70s, up to 30% today. So people are using more potent forms of the medication or of the substance, and more frequently. And we want to talk about that. Does it help or hurt you psychologically or emotionally? So I want to welcome MariJayne to the show, also known as Tiffany Dewberry. MariJayne is a content creator, events director, educator, and entrepreneur. In 2006, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and she used cannabis to optimize her health and wellness and be her best self. She is a cannabis advocate, and creator of the Menage with MariJayne Maven podcast to help eradicate negative stereotypes and elevate lives. She's also the mother of 3 boys. Welcome, MariJayne, to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on
Yes,
today.
definitely. So tell us about this. So you have a podcast. Does it talk about cannabis? What is your podcast about?
It does. I'd like to say that it is, it is a high grade, carefully curated, sponsored by Cannabis podcast, where we cover all kind of topics. I will say this: I'm an Aries, and we love to speak. So any topic that I can kind of have a platform on, it's a benefit. It's something I enjoy. But specifically, there is definitely a need for education and for the information to be digestible and for it to be something that is, not scary to individuals that are looking for the correct information on cannabis and the benefits.
Yeah, see how you kind of do a double entendre. Digestible could be the marijuana also, as well as the knowledge.
That's yes. Could be. I like that.
Yeah. Are you high right now?
I am not. I would like to be, but I wanted to be in my best frame of mind. Not that I'm not, but this isn't my podcast. Where on our podcast we have a a spark and salutation. So we encourage all the listeners and viewers to spark up. We spark up, and we medicate. But I wanted to.
I think I've seen some podcasts or shows where everyone's high on the show. I forgot what the name of that show. Was it Galifianakis or something? What's the guy's name?
Oh, Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah, that guy, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Him, between him and Seth Rogen.
Yeah, exactly. And Seth Rogen. And also, Joe Rogan had Elon Musk on the show doing marijuana. Did you see that one? That was a big hit, apparently.
I love him. I used to work for him. I've actually taken shots with him in Vegas.
Okay. Are you talking about Joe Rogan or are you talking about Elon Musk?
Elon Musk. Elon Musk, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, Reggie, my producer, he's like kind of a geeky guy. You're laughing. What's so funny, Reggie, about this?
Well, no, I watched that interview, and I'm just impressed that I guess knows Elon Musk.
Yes, Elon Musk. He's a very interesting guy.
That is something I guess quirky about me. But yeah, I worked for his solar company that he invested in that his cousins actually ran, and they took us to Vegas for 3 days. Well, actually 1 day. And I ended up in his booth. And next thing I know, I was like, wait a minute, I know who you are. And we took a shot of Tito's together. It was great.
Wow, that's amazing. So you seem like a sociable gal. You must be the extrovert personality in the personality types. Are you pretty extrovert?
Very much. Okay. It's funny. My husband's over here shaking his head emphatically. Yes. I am. That's why I find myself, why I feel that it's my purpose to be in the industry that I'm in and to be doing what I'm doing as an entrepreneur.
Excellent. Now, we're going to get into a little bit of the emotional, psychological aspects of marijuana. And there's been some studies, but not that many, on the psychological side. But there have been other studies on the physical side Now, in terms of, the typical reaction, people know that you have a heightened perception sensory wise, you have euphoria, maybe you can come down from that, and also appetite increase. But in terms of positives, and I want to get your take on this. There had a new study in 17 that looked at the 113 chemical aspects of cannabis, and they found that there are three things that they discovered that were benefits. One is it reduces chronic pain, it reduces nausea from chemotherapy, and also decreases spasticity in multiple sclerosis, which is kind of like the muscle spasms and stiffness. Tell us about your experience. Now, you said you had multiple sclerosis, or do you still have it?
I do. I like to say that multiple sclerosis lives with me. It came into my life, so it needs to keep up. Just be there. I don't like to kind of claim it. I feel that it manifests when you do that. So,
Yes.
like I said, it's something that came into my life and that I needed to understand,
Yes.
so that it could kind of, in a way, understand me, and we could live happily together.
Okay.
But yes, I have found that cannabis, it helps me immensely. I'm 1000% transparent with my neurologist. He knows.
Yes.
He actually says, I think that you are one of my healthiest patients because of my mindset and because I use cannabis, but I also understand how the illness affects me because it affects everybody differently.
Yes.
So I know that cannabis helps me to not stress, which stress triggers everything within everyone. It doesn't matter
Yes.
if you have multiple sclerosis or not.
Yes.
It's a horrible thing. But within me and with the MS, it definitely is. It can be
I
debilitating,
see.
and it can
So
be
do you
something that
tremor? Do you shake? What is MS symptoms to you usually?
I don't. Thank the universe. I just have my left leg. When I look down at it, as you are looking at it, but my
Yes.
left leg, that's where a lot of my symptoms are. Majority of my symptoms. I
Yes.
get tingly there. I get kind of pins and needles feeling. It's really hard to explain.
Right.
And since I've had each one of my last two boys, I
Yes.
have lost the feeling in both of my feet from
Oh,
about
wow.
the mid foot till about the tip of my toes,
Oh, no.
but not in a way where it
Yeah.
like I'm not able to walk. It does
Oh,
affect my gait, but I've been
ah,
able to kind of counteract that with
okay.
exercise and
So someone
things
steps
like
on your
that. So
toe, do you feel it? If someone steps on your foot?
I do. It's not that bad, but it's
Oh,
just kind of
okay.
like I said, a pins and needles
Oh, I see.
kind of
Okay.
feeling. Yeah. So
Okay.
I went
Okay.
into a remission with both,
Oh,
with both pregnancies,
okay.
and I was feeling completely normal up until
Wow.
about 4 months and 2 days after having
Oh,
birth, like with each of
I see.
them.
I see.
And then
I
had
see.
a little bit of a flare up, but
Mm,
yeah, I knew
yeah. Okay.
how to identify it.
Now,
So
MariJayne, and by the way, your name is spelled MariJayne, which I assume is a
yes,
take on marijuana, or MariJayne. Is it?
it is. It
Okay.
is.
I guess Rick James came
Yeah.
out with that first, didn't he? Back in the days.
Yes, and he may have spelled it the traditional way.
Okay.
4 years ago when I decided to venture into cannabis, I
Yes.
needed to make sure that I stood out. It's a very
Okay.
common,
Yes.
very common name that people use,
Yes.
but I wanted to be able to stand out, and
Okay.
so I decided to spell it a
Right.
little differently.
Although
Yeah.
dewberry sounds like a blueberry to me. That's not a bad name.
Yes,
That one.
I've heard a lot of takes on that, so I'll take blueberry. I will take that. But yes,
Okay.
it's much better than I love, no harm to my family, love you, Dad, but it's much
Yes.
better than my maiden name, my maiden last name. Yeah,
Oh, okay. What is that one? They made the last name.
Wiggum.
Wiggum. Wiggum. Okay.
Yes, and so I heard my entire life, Chief Wiggum, Simpson. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I
What does
yeah.
that mean? Is that a bad word? Wiggums, or what is that?
No, but it's a character from The Simpsons.
Say it again.
A character from The
Oh, The
Simpsons.
Simpsons. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Reggie, you would know that one, would you? Okay, he knows that. Okay.
Yes, I figured he
Gotcha.
would know. I figured Reggie
Yeah,
would know.
this guy knows everything. He's a knowledgeable guy. Now, Tiffany, MariJayne, one thing we want to kind of delve into is the benefits and also maybe the drawbacks of this. Now, there is some research that's kind of mixed. Now, they do talk about the fact that marijuana may irritate your lungs, the coughing issue, increase your heart rate. They said there's a 10% more chance of heart problems. And also reproductive aspects, it lowers the sperm count in men. And women during pregnancy, they might have a lower birth rate baby. What do you think? Do you recommend women smoke marijuana during pregnancy or not?
I, as a consultant, as an educator, I
Yes.
base it off of my knowledge, my research,
Yes.
and my personal experience.
Yes.
Um, I think it depends on the way that you actually take cannabis.
Okay.
Of course, I don't recommend, I wouldn't say go ahead and roll up, in a tobacco leaf and smoke
Yes.
crazy while
Right.
you're pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what helps you kind of get through those horrible months of like
Right.
bad, nausea and whatnot,
Right.
to each his own.
Yes.
But I would suggest that if you are going to use cannabis, use it in the form of a tea, use it in the form of an edible.
Okay.
Don't smoke it, because that's where I think the major concern is.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
And so I wouldn't recommend that, but I don't say that it's something that should not be used during pregnancy or to make your quality of pregnancy better,
Okay.
because I know that it helped mine.
Yes. Now, the other thing is a little concern is the idea of, some people have paranoid hallucinations and, they say psychosis, there's a 4 to 5 times greater risk. You'll break from reality. Now, what do you think of that? I mean, do you get paranoid on weed or do some people do? How does that work?
Some people do, but this is the reason why. Is because everybody's body chemistry reacts to the cannabinoids that are, that are within the compounds that are within the power flower, as I call it, differently. So this is what I simply tell people: the nose knows. If it smells sweet, if it smells attractive to you, it works with your body chemistry and you can avoid the paranoia.
Okay.
If it smells gassy and, just really, it doesn't smell pleasing, don't do it, because that's your body's chemistry telling you it's not going to work together. So it's very simple. People also need to understand the benefit of using CBD and other forms, the non-psychoactive forms of the plant, along with the THC. If you do come across being paranoid or being too high for, what you're comfortable with, the CBD, for example, will help to even out that psychoactiveness, and it will kind of elongate actually the time that you're going to be high, but it helps to bring you down.
I see.
So,
I understand there are two strains. One's called sativa and indica. Can you tell us what's the difference in those two things?
So sativa is the one that is it causes more people they feel paranoid and anxious.
Okay.
But what it is it's I don't want to say it's more of an upper, but you definitely are much more elevated.
Okay.
It's more of a head high. You get very creative. I do a lot of my content creating with sativa.
Is there more THC in it, or is it just the way it's made that makes it?
It's just the way that those two interact, with the body chemistry, what their purpose is. Yes. Indica is the one that's going to floor you more. Indica is the one where you want to watch Game of Thrones. You want to get through, an entire season.
Right.
You may want to sit back with some food and some indica, and you're going to kind of veg out. Indica is also the one that helps more of the pain and the inflammation, and some of those health benefits.
I see.
So sativa is more of a kind of party one.
Oh, party. Okay. Now, the one thing that people have concern with in the psychological area is people that use this medication or substance, and they become kind of lethargic, like apathetic and aimless. Now, there might be people that are able to work better, right, because they reduce their anxiety. What's been your experience? Does this make you lazy and apathetic, or does it make you more creative and strong?
It depends on the strain. So I say all the time, I am not an indica lover because I have stuff to do.
Yes.
And I say the other 4-word, explanation or description of that, but I want to get the point home. Like, I have stuff to do. I can't.
Yeah.
Now, if I don't have anything to do, or if I am feeling a lot of pain, if I'm not able to sleep, then indica would be my choice. But being that I know how I work with either one, I prefer to be functioning and do what I need to do with sativa other than indica.
Right.
So
I see.
It depends. There's several people that are opposite.
Right, because the classic stereotype, I guess you would see it in movies and comedies, the guy's lying on the couch eating chips all day and
Jeff Spicoli,
Is that true or not necessarily?
There are some people that are very much like that. And,
couch potatoes,
you can kind of blame it on anything. I don't think that that's so much of the plant as I think that it is their
psychological,
where they're stuck, where they are. Yeah, they haven't identified what their purpose is. So they don't really feel a need to be productive.
Okay, so the gaining weight and just not doing too much, being apathetic. You think they're just using the drug as a scapegoat, or you think they are that way?
There are some people. I think that's why you should be of a certain age. You should be, for example, like you were saying with the corona, the numbers have skyrocketed with people that are using.
Yes.
Those people are ones that have jobs. that are integral parts of society, that are functioning, that are able to utilize it and in whatever factor they want and still do what they need to do. There are individuals that, because of where they are in their life, they don't need to depend on any substance, any plants, anything other than getting themselves completely 100% healthy inside and out.
Right.
So it definitely can be a hindrance because, especially if you're smoking indica all day, you don't want to get up and do anything. Like I said, it just depends. But
right.
Especially I'm not going to say that
a lot of people are staying home anyway, so they figure, hey, you might as well, smoke, eat, drink, and be merry, as you say, right?
Hey, I mean, I was much happier to see the numbers higher for the cannabis purchases than I was for the alcohol.
Okay.
So
exactly.
At least I knew that with the cannabis, they were being a little bit healthier and they were getting some health benefits, but I'm a craft beer girl, so I can't just claim innocent on that. I've been having a little craft beer this Coronication, as I call it.
Or maybe mojitos for our Latin folks out here. Do you ever try mojitos?
Oh, yes. Well, I definitely do. And
those are nice.
Good tequila. We've been tequila tasting, and I've tasted some really good tequila. But I'm a Tito's girl.
Let me ask you something maybe a little controversial. Now you have 3 sons, I understand, 3 boys.
I do.
How old are your boys?
The oldest will be 23 in October. I know. How's that possible? I know.
We look great.
Thank you.
How old is your youngest son?
9. So 23, 12, and 9.
Okay. So here's the question, Tiffany. Do you want your teen boys under 16 smoking marijuana?
I don't. And we are very honest with them. They understand that it's our medicine. I don't hide it because I feel that when you hide it, that is just providing the springboard for them to go crazy when they get the opportunity. I think if you're very honest with them and you let them know when, where, and how, they can go ahead and decide to do that, which is when you're out of my house, when you're of age, when you're paying your own bills, and when you have a college degree. Of course, the college degree may be stretching it because most people actually get into it more than college, but I want you to at least be the age of consent, 1, of adult consent, but 2, where I know that your brain has fully developed.
Exactly.
Because I do believe that it can affect
the
younger.
That the memory structures are shrunken, and even neurons may be decreased. So we have what's called brain plasticity in psychology. You may have heard about where the brain grows and changes. So this actually can hurt younger people, apparently, based on the research, and also the idea, even suicidal thoughts. They did a study.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, in Colorado, before the age of 17, the toxicology reports show higher substances of marijuana in those that committed suicide. So what do you think of that? Should we ban it for younger teenagers?
I mean, I think if we keep it the way that it is, because the numbers have also shown a decrease in kids that are starting to smoke at a certain age.
Yes.
The most recent numbers, I believe, shows an average age is 16, 17 of their first time trying it, where I know that when I was going to school, it was definitely 12, 13.
Wow.
Easily.
Right.
I have a big 6 foot, 7 foot dad, so I didn't do anything. I was scared to death.
Right, but they said that the concentration was less in the 70s. It was like 1 to 5%, but now they have up to 30%. Is that true?
True.
Yeah.
Quite possibly. No, not quite possibly. It is, and it's above 30%, which is what I think adds to the fact of they don't need to be using the flower until they're complete. Until their brains have developed more because of the higher THC.
Yes, you can agree with that part of it in terms of the age range. Okay. Now here are a couple of findings. Now let me know what you think about these. Some research shows that it's connected to violent crime. And you think of marijuana users as being more mellow and all that, but how about the lack of inhibition? Does it lower your inhibition? Could you become more of a criminally minded or even violent, possibly with marijuana? Or is that unlikely?
I don't believe so. I believe that if anyone is acting or, committing a crime or doing something that's wrong, marijuana is not the only thing that is in their system. They have, man-made drugs. They have possibly other issues as far as, maybe chemical imbalance or depression or anger issues. It's something else. It's not always just somebody who, rolled up and decided to go in and, and because they had a lower inhibition, rob a bank or whatever. I don't think it's that simple. I definitely think that you will find cannabis being in their system and something that they use every day.
Yes.
But there's other factors definitely.
Okay. And the other one that's interesting is, the idea this is kind of a pathway drug that people start marijuana and will get into other stuff. And they show that there's a more likelihood 2.6 times greater to abuse prescription opioids if you do marijuana. What do you think of that kind of thing? Is it lead to other things possibly?
I don't believe so, and I'm going to base this on my personal experience. Like I said, like we discussed, going to school at UC Davis,
Yes.
I saw when I started going to school there, I was immediately like, nobody there smokes, nobody there does anything.
Right.
It is just all about school. Please,
and they like to ride bicycles
college
too, right? They're all healthy bicycle riders. Usually.
Oh yeah, they're still loving the bicycles.
Exactly.
But it's college, and it's that age where you experiment. And I'm going to tell you that I've seen other substances that are utilized and abused much more, which lead to the opioids, other than cannabis.
Like what do you call it, ecstasy and all kinds of
ecstasy, cocaine. I mean, that's you would think that cocaine, because of the expense of it, is not something that is it's definitely in abundance.
So you don't see that connection, marijuana leading to cocaine or meth or that kind of stuff as much?
I believe that if you're predisposed to it, I believe that, if you have, and we know that most abuse or addiction starts with, your being hereditary and starts with your, kind of your background. So I'm not saying that's the entire, catalyst of it, but I do believe that having predisposed issues, illnesses and whatnot, that tends to and lends to it. And I have to see numbers that are just much more prudent and just being able to be just right down to connecting cannabis and crimes, or cannabis and, the loss of inhibitions, or the loss of
a lot of these studies are what we call correlational, but they're not causational. So you have to do like a random pure experiment where you have to give people marijuana in two groups and then watch them and see if they commit crimes. But obviously that wouldn't be very ethical to do that.
It would not, but unfortunately, our country, they've done some things before that wouldn't be very ethical.
You remember
but it's true.
Exactly. You remember Milgram's shock experiment? Do you ever study that in psychology, where they shock people and all that?
Yes, I did. I studied it for sociology for hubby and for myself.
Exactly. So that, it's kind of hard to get these studies really accurate. But here's some interesting things. There actually have studies, and they have mixed findings. Some say yes or no. The CBD can help reduce anxiety. It could be antipsychotic. Perhaps social anxiety reduction, like social phobia, severe shyness, and possibly even PTSD. Now, these studies are kind of like in the work still, so there's no conclusive evidence. What do you think about these things? Do you see marijuana or CBD as helpful in these four areas?
I can tell you 1000%, and my personal experience and the endless amount of people that I've helped through my brand education. I'm an entrepreneur, so I have to have multiple streams of income. So I do brand education for certain brands, within the industry. CBD is something that I educate on 9 times out of 10 when I speak to a consumer.
Okay.
And I'll tell you a personal story. My grandmother, who is very saved, very Christian, lives by the Bible. My grandfather passed away. She was on 30 different medications that her doctor had her on, 30 daily different medications. He took her off cold turkey and told her to take Excedrin. It was the day after my grandfather passed away. They'd been together 60 plus years. So I went to visit her and I said, just trust me, I will be back. And I found the nearest dispensary. I went and bought her CBD products. My grandmother, 2 days later, she was laughing. She was able to tell stories about my grandfather. Her pain had lessened. The withdrawals that she was having, they were just almost not there. This is within 48 to 72 hours. I have to watch her now and check on her periodically because she thinks that she can go on Amazon and buy CBD pens.
Oh no, wait a minute. You don't want grandma lighting up a joint every day, do you?
Yeah, she did ask. She said ABC. And I was like, do you mean THC? Because she was like, give me something with that. She just threw letters together. My mother, very, very just worrisome, very stressful, not sleeping well. I got her a CBD pen and was able to kind of bump her up to a little CBD THC ratio. And those issues have passed. So personally, within my life, I've seen the benefits.
One interesting area, if the research could prove it, is PTSD. I work a lot with trauma victims and serious situations, and having flashbacks and avoidance, nightmares and all that from terrible trauma.
Hmm.
That'd be interesting. Have you seen that among your either clients or people that
I have.
recover from trauma using
I have.
cannabis? Yes.
I don't want to get teary eyed. I almost did just even thinking
Oh,
about it. But I
okay.
remember my very first customer that I helped, and
Yes.
he walked into the dispensary and he said, "It's my first time here." And he
Yes.
immediately walked over to my table. And I said, "Well, I don't work here. I'm with this company." He said, "No. I just
Okay.
need to feel comfortable about this." And
Right.
so I kind of, read his energy and I said, "It's your first time. What's going
Yes.
on?" And he said, "I just cannot be on those pills anymore
Right.
that the VA provides me." He says, "And
Okay.
I want to find, I have to have a quality of life back."
Right.
And I spoke to him for about 45 minutes and was
Right.
able to help him out with the right gummies. He wasn't comfortable with smoking. So we found the right
Right.
products for him.
Okay.
And I saw him every week for the
Yes.
next probably 6 months. And to see the
Oh.
change in his demeanor and
Oh, okay.
energy from
Okay.
that first day until
Wow.
the last day that I saw him,
Yes.
it was immense. And he was a veteran, and he was
Oh, I see.
just released, and he was
Yes.
dealing with
Uh,
a lot of trauma.
I see what you're saying.
So yeah, I've had
Uh,
those experiences that make me a
right.
believer.
I see.
Definitely.
Now, the other side of the coin, I see there's a lot of benefit here from what you're saying in terms of mood and pain and all that. But there are people that fall into what we call the cannabis use disorder, where it's kind of an addiction. They say anywhere from 6 to 10% can become addicted to it. Now, my philosophy, I've always been a person that believes in internal chemicals more than external. For example, your brain, when you meditate, for example, or see nature, something beautiful, that releases very beautiful chemicals. But if you get used to external chemicals, you might reduce the pleasure you get from, for example, the sunset. You don't have the same reaction to it. So you need to use the other chemical, whether it's a marijuana or something else. And then that, we build up what we call tolerance and also withdrawals when we don't have it. And this people that have this disorder over a year period either can't stop themselves, they use too much, and that kind of thing. And they have problems at home, school, work, and social life. So what do you think of that, MariJayne? Are there people that should not use it, or can it be a problem if they become emotionally addicted to it?
I believe most certainly that there are people that should not use it in the psychoactive form. In a situation that you just described, I think,
Yes.
the other compound would be great. A CBN, a CBD, whatever it may be.
So psychoactive meaning THC, is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Thank you so much for clarifying. Yeah.
Yes.
So instead of leaving that psychoactive side, leaving that to others, and being able to find out what's going to work with your body chemistry and what's going to work with your wellness.
Okay.
And
So
I don't find any fault in anything that's CBD.
Let me make sure I have this clear. CBD, can you smoke that? I mean, is it just like marijuana, but a different form? Yes.
There are CBD. Yeah, there's CBD flower.
Okay.
Most commonly, what you find it in is drinks, edibles.
Okay.
You're going to find it in tinctures. You're going to find it in topicals.
Okay.
You're going to find it in intimacy lubes. Those are the things that you're going to find it in, most common.
What is an intimacy lube? What does that mean?
It is, like your KY jelly.
Okay.
Your
jelly for sexual activity. Intimacy.
Yes. So it's the pleasing side, not just so much for the act itself, but more to awaken the nerves and to bring you and your partner closer together.
I see. So as far as you know, this is not addictive, the CBD, or is there addiction to it as well? I mean, I'm talking about personally speaking.
No, not at all.
Because if something feels good, don't you want to keep doing it? So you might really get into it, and it's hard to leave it.
True, but it helps to level out your body chemistry. It helps to level out your wellness and really optimize it. Okay. So it'd be the same as taking your everyday vitamins and drinking your green smoothie, and it's going to provide the same type of benefits. Okay. Actually, that's a very good way for people too, and to have it every day is to have a powder or a butter or an oil, a coconut oil, and just put that in, your everyday, everyday.
So, Reggie, my producer, are you going to get something for one of your friends or something? Are you going to start using it? You going to start puffing up?
Maybe for myself.
Okay. Reggie, okay.
We can be friends, Reggie. We can be friends.
Okay, Reggie, Reggie's a nice guy. He's kind of shy though with women, and we have a bet that I would buy him a date for $100, a dinner date. I pay for it. But he hasn't met the right girl. So what do you suggest? Should he meet a girl that likes this kind of stuff?
Somebody that may be open to it, just in case. You never know. He may venture into there's a whole cannabis cafe in
Ah,
Southern California. Maybe he
okay,
ventures into that
okay,
and has a meal.
okay. Yeah.
And, you know, he
He looks a
discovers
little bit
that
like a
infused
stoner.
meals that might be good for
He
him.
looks a little bit like a stoner with that beard. So,
A little bit dazed and confused, a little bit, but it's good. It's in
okay,
a good way.
but
No,
in a cool
no,
way, right? Yeah, okay.
in a good way.
Okay, that's kind of cool. So you're saying that CBD versus THC. Now THC could be addictive. Is that what you're saying? It could change your brain chemistry, possibly, and you get tolerance and also withdrawals. Is that
I do believe that based on your body chemistry, your, you know, the chemistry that your brain chemistry, I believe, you
yes?
know, that definitely plays into it. For
Ah,
somebody like myself, I've never felt like I've had a bout where it has brought on depression or it's made me feel even lower than I've already felt.
okay,
In all honesty, anytime that I do feel any kind of stress or worry or
right,
strain or anything,
right.
it actually helps me to kind of like take a deep breath and meditate
Okay.
and realize that
I see.
it's
Ah,
I'm gonna manifest whatever's gonna happen and just
I
kind
see.
of like take a step back.
I see. But I've
Yeah,
known
so it
people
helps me to
that
focus.
wake up, they smoke it. They're kind of they're depressed, but they rely on it emotionally all day. They're smoking constantly. Is that a problem? Do you think?
I mean, if you're depending on anything other than your own faculties,
Ah,
then yeah, I do think that's a problem.
okay.
Because we are meant to, as human beings and part of this universe, we're meant
Right.
to understand who we are
Right.
and what our true purpose is within
Right.
the universe. So if you can't do that without something, and
Right.
then yes, then it's definitely something that
I
you
see.
need to
Yeah.
take a step back from.
Right. For
And
example,
that's
how
anything.
much do you smoke a day? Do you smoke one joint or do you smoke a certain amount?
Oh, I have a 9 and 12 year old. I definitely
Ah.
smoke more than that.
Oh.
Um,
Okay. You can't do it.
my husband and I know my husband's a teacher,
Oh. Okay.
and so of course during the hours that he's teaching, that
Yes.
doesn't occur.
Right.
But while everybody's home right now, mommy
Yes.
does probably sneak off and have one or two extra puffs, you
Okay.
know, while hubby's teaching and while the boys are in school.
Okay.
But I would say we about 4 times a day.
4 times a day. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So I guess it depends again, like you said, on your functionality, your brain chemistry. Some people maybe can do more or less, right?
yeah, most
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, for me, you know, we have our last evening smoke, and usually, you know, hubby's sleep within an hour, and that's when I, you know, do a lot of my content creating and my writing.
Oh, okay.
It's really a creative time for me, and I'm able to
Right.
focus
Right.
and yeah, get a lot done.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm very, very
Yeah.
functional as long as it's
MariJayne,
not indica.
you're a very interesting, fascinating kind of woman, and
Thank you.
I like your style is very balanced, and it seems like it's compassionate. So you want to help people in what you're doing.
Thank you. I do.
Yeah.
I honestly feel that the purpose of why I'm here is to leave a footprint of significance
Yes.
in a positive way in the lives
Right.
of others, a
Exactly.
very long lasting. And I
That's,
think that I'll be
that's
able to do
beautiful.
that through my entrepreneurship and
Exactly.
using cannabis.
Yeah. So let me ask you a couple, and I'll get into a little more about you. In your life, has there been a failure or even a great challenge? I know you mentioned the multiple sclerosis that set you up for later success. Is there anything you've overcome in life that, or maybe you failed and then you overcame it?
Yeah, most definitely. And it's part of my journey and why I am, you know, who I am today and
Yes.
why I am where I am.
Right.
You know, 4.5 years ago, I had a great career. I was
Yes.
successful in corporate sales and
Yes.
client marketing and things like
Right.
that, client relations,
Okay.
but I just wasn't happy.
Ah,
Every couple of years, I found myself wanting to look for a new position.
yes.
But everything else in my life was great. My children, my
Yes.
husband, my friends, everything.
Right.
I just found myself every few months just feeling unfulfilled.
Ah, okay.
And I realized that I had to step out of living in fear and step
Right.
into discovering and defining what my passion and purpose was.
Right.
And that took stepping out of doing what I thought was the normal thing, which was going to college, getting a
Yes.
job, working, doing
Right.
that.
Right.
And I needed to really look into self. So I read The Alchemist, which
Oh yeah, Paulo Coelho is one of my
yes,
favorites. Yes.
you know, I've read it several times since then. I felt like, and I
Yes.
still feel like somebody is writing the words over my shoulder as
Yes.
I read the book.
Definitely. Yes.
But that really changed my mindset. And I really thought that I am an outgoing, upbeat, loving, you
Yes.
know, dreamer, but I had a toxic way of thinking where I
Ah.
was
Ah.
putting obstacles in front of myself and it was all
Yes.
out of fear.
I see what you're saying.
So I definitely identify that as a time that was a failure, but
Ah.
I also see failures as a time for you to learn from your mistakes
Yes.
and grow from them.
That's wonderful.
So
Yeah, I like that. I
yeah,
read a book. I wrote a book called The Three Secrets of Happiness, kind of like modern day fable, where A pompous psychiatrist goes to the mountain and meets a monk, and he learns the 3 secrets, and they're very simple. They're gratitude, optimism, and forgiveness. And it sounds like you may have gone through these yourself. These 3 secrets.
Yeah, the forgiveness was probably the toughest one.
Yes.
But yeah, my husband is
self-forgiveness, especially. Yes.
Most definitely, and that was probably my biggest obstacle, was forgiving myself for things like having my son at 19. The careers that didn't work out, or the people that I felt like I let down. If it wasn't for this awesome man that's over here.
Okay. Is he there? Is there right now?
Years.
Okay.
He is. He's a producer. He's my producer. So
wow,
he's
very nice.
Big support system.
Get it all.
But
is he also a little bit? Is he high right now? A little bit.
Are you? Yeah, he shakes his head. Yes, he is. Yeah,
okay.
he is.
All right,
he made sure. He dedicated.
Practice what you preach, huh? That's important, right?
Yeah.
Reggie, you're laughing like crazy.
I believe that's part of the reason we've been together for 19 years, married for 15 in about a week. So
you're compatible,
can a
right?
couple stay together?
Yes, I like that. Now, how about superheroes? Let's say, MariJayne, is there a superhero or someone that's been great in your life? It could be dead or alive, that you look up to.
Wow, there's so many people.
Or even like the comic books. Is there a superheroine or hero that you like the most?
I like that you asked that, and I will say that it would be, and even though he was a bad guy, Killmonger, in Black Panther. The reason is because he was very resolute in his reason for why he became the way that he became, and why he was going to do the things that he did.
Which one was that? Was it the one that his dad was killed or something? Is that the one? Or
yeah, he was the villain. Yeah, he was the one that gave the very awesome, the best line in the whole movie. He said his ancestors weren't wrong. They'd rather die in the ocean than live in, and I'm not saying you're right at all, but the main idea was to be in slavery. To be enslaved. Okay. So it was pretty powerful, but I would have to say just his perseverance and the fact that he was so resolute in his beliefs.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you better put on your costume now, the mongerer. That's going to be your new thing, no?
I have my Halloween costume ready, and it's not quite that. That's a little bit.
Okay.
A little different.
Different costume.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, it's an adult. It's adult. Halloween is for adults to dress up like we're not supposed to anymore. But I'm gonna be one of the girls from the WAP video. I don't know if you've seen it, but if you haven't, you should definitely see it.
What's it called again? WAP?
WAP, yes. Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We'll check it out.
Reggie looks like he may have seen it. I'm looking at his face. He has a little smile on his face. I think he may have seen it.
All right, Reggie, you better keep it to yourself until later. Okay. How about one tweet to the world, MariJayne? Let's say you can summarize your philosophy or in one tweet. What would that be?
Lack of passion is fatal.
Okay. And tell us about that.
I don't feel like I was necessarily on my way out, but I definitely feel like I was living a shorter life when I didn't identify my passion. And if you don't identify your passion, you don't know your purpose, and I don't think you're going to live the quality of life that deep down that you deserve, or that you're supposed to live. So
you were a corporate automaton at the time, do you think? Were you kind of doing things robotically in your previous
Most
career?
definitely. Because I am the type of individual where you teach me something, I'm very stringent.
Yes.
I do it the way that I don't try to reinvent the wheel unless I know that I really can. But I was able to assimilate in sales a lot, and I definitely became that. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now tell me, MariJayne, what are you guys working on now? I know. Tell us about your website, products, services. What are you providing for folks out here in this thing?
Yes. Well, what I'm currently doing is working on our Create and Elevate, which was I created 3 different entities or ventures last year, which was a podcast, a nonprofit organization, which is the Colors of Cannabis, and Create and Elevate, which is a monthly curated cannabis event that provides education or just a location for people to get together and feel like part of a community. Okay. So, I really believe we're going to be in this, quarantine or stay in shelter or needing to stay at home well into next year.
Oh.
So we're needing to pivot a bit. So instead of being able to do things in person, we want to start doing things virtually.
Okay.
So I will be having events like that virtually, working, with the advocacy and the equity side of the industry, making sure that people of color and women of color are, are equal to, in the playing field. I have, merchandise coming out soon, brand new merchandise.
Okay.
I just started a new segment of the podcast, which is Staying Sane with MariJayne. So it's kind of a mini pod.
I like that. The kind of flow is nice. That's a good thing.
Yes, thank you very much. And just keeping up with season 2. We are 4 episodes into season 2.
Awesome.
Staying pretty busy.
I see.
Yeah, just
tell us your website, MariJayne.
It is Menage with the MariJayne Maven. And that is Menage with the MariJayne Maven, and it's at Wix.com.
Okay. Now the word menage, what is the idea of menage in your case?
Because it's actually to mean to gather.
Yes.
And it does mean gather in groups of 3 or more. So I was doing a play off of the indica, sativa, and hybrid.
Okay.
So it would be myself, my guests, my viewers, and whatever strain they chose to medicate with.
So you must have a good, you must have like English or vocabulary training. You use very interesting words in your stuff.
I was told that you talk a lot. So that's what it is. I read and I talk a lot.
Okay.
But I thank you. I try to have a grasp. I have a 12 and 9-year-old that I want to make sure that they understand words. And so we have a word of the day every day.
Yes, that's great. Well, MariJayne, it's been a wonderful pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you.
Really, I think, educated and enlightened our listeners today. And
I hope so.
You're giving us kind of a very compassionate take on a new thing here, because a lot of people don't understand the whole idea of cannabis, marijuana is the way you're describing it. So you're saying it's a way to connect people socially and also maybe emotionally to an extent. But you got to find out your own chemistry, right? Your brain chemistry, your genetics, and all that, and how it affects you.
You have to be responsible with it. This cannabis is also something that can help with social issues.
Yes.
I definitely think it's something that can help to make our society much better and bridge the gap in generational wealth and educational gap. It's a power flower, and I think it's a beautiful thing. And I very much appreciate you allowing me to come on and speak about it today.
Definitely. Well, Love University, we're all about loving ourselves, others, and a higher nature. And, the higher nature, God or spirituality, but also could be something else. It could be being a compassionate person, loving people. I think what you're trying to do is connect people in a certain way and with that loving energy and giving back to others.
And we definitely need it right now.
Exactly.
We definitely need it in abundance.
Exactly. So Love University students, if you're interested in learning more about MariJayne and also about the show, and if you want to be a guest or have show ideas, you can contact us at loveuniversity.love, 310-226-8090, loveuniversity@gmail.com. Make sure to like us on Facebook at Love University Podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram at Love Letter U Podcast. And also, you can subscribe to us at Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Until next time, Dr. Alex Avila. So go out and give love to people this week. This is a loving energy week. And learn more about your own chemistry internally and externally, and see what we can do to make this world a better place. Dr. Avila, until next time, put away your notebooks, your iPads, your iPhones. Until next time, see you then.